Everyone, thank you for joining us again for the video. I want to make you aware that the Minister of Employment and Labour has signed the gazetting of Asbestos Abatement Regulations. So as we have promulgated the Asbestos Abatement Regulations, I want us to briefly talk about asbestos and a few contents in the regulations. The history of asbestos in the world is as old as time. However, the first death related to asbestos was documented in 1906. South Africa was the third largest exporter of asbestos in the world for more than a century. As a result of particular exploitative social conditions, former workers and residents of mining regions have suffered, and they still continue to suffer from a seriously yet still largely undocumented burden of asbestos-related disease. Pollution created by mining, processing, and dumping of asbestos fiber led to widespread contamination of rural areas. As a result, the incidence of asbestos-related disease is high amongst residents from asbestos communities. We can think of the Northern Cape areas. Also, badly affected workers are from the following industrial sectors: the construction sector, power stations, where some of the power lines were insulated, the pipelines were insulated with asbestos-containing fiber material, railway workshops, shipbuilding and repairing, boiler makers, steam fitters, electricians, textile workers, roofers, stevedores, waste disposal workers, and motor vehicle mechanics are also in high risk, as some of these products were used in brake pads and so forth. Due to the largely undocumented burden of asbestos-related disease, this epidemic has become invisible, both in the SADC region and in South Africa, as some workers have migrated back to their places of origin. Because in the mining communities, we had people that originated from Eastern Cape, they went back home. We had people from Mozambique, Malawi, Lesotho, Swaziland, Namibia, and such people have gone back home. And the burden of disease is not known as much in such areas. This extensive mining and use of the mineral in the past has resulted in thousands of deaths from mesothelioma, a rare and aggressive cancer almost exclusively caused by asbestos exposure. South African researchers have played a central role in the global circulation of scientific knowledge about asbestos. They also hosted the 1930 International Conference on Silicosis in Johannesburg, where asbestosis was acknowledged as a new occupational disease. And later, South Africa provided definite evidence of the etiological association between asbestos and mesothelioma. So we can see South Africa has played an important role in this issue of identifying asbestos as a new occupational disease. Mining of asbestos in South Africa and its use in other products caused heartbreak, illness, and death for thousands of workers. It is against this backdrop that the first legal case was brought on behalf of South African workers against the European mining companies, and this began in 1997 when claims were lodged in the English High Court against KPLC. The case eventually succeeded and was testament to the plaintiffs' determination and their lawyers' unswerving commitment to restoring human dignity. As a result of this pioneering case, litigation against other multinational companies commenced, and subsequent to that, the Asbestos Relief Trust was set up to compensate workers, communities, and their families. Now you may ask, as you are watching this video, why did we use asbestos in the first place? If it's hazardous to our health, why was it used so widely? The health risks were unknown or not always agreed to, and asbestos fibers have unique properties that make it an excellent building material. It is fire resistant. It is resistant to chemical breakdown. It also has excellent insulation properties. The human health effects from long-term unsafe of exposure to asbestos are well documented. Asbestos fibers are easily inhaled and carried into the lower regions of the lung, where they can cause fibrotic lung disease called asbestosis, as well as changes in the lining of the chest cavity. So people with asbestosis will struggle to breathe, because remember, when you breathe, you inhale oxygen and you have to exhale carbon dioxide. So such people struggle with such exercise. These diseases can lead to reduced respiratory function and death. Long-term inhalation of asbestos fibers also increases the risk of lung cancer and mesothelioma. Enlargement of the heart can also occur as an indirect effect from the increased resistance of blood flow through the lungs. Remember now, the lungs are struggling to do what they are supposed to do. People are more likely to experience asbestos-related disorders if they are exposed to high concentrations of asbestos, exposed for longer periods of time, or are exposed to asbestos more frequently. Although exposure to very small quantities may not always be considered safe. As the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is the all-encompassing statute, Section 24 of this Act sets out the right to an environment that is not harmful to health or well-being, and calls on the government to take legislative and other actions to prevent pollution and ecological degradation, promote conservation, secure ecological sustainable development, use natural resources while promoting justifiable economic and social development, as asbestos is a natural resource. In line with the Constitution, in 2001, the South African Department of Employment and Labour promulgated the Asbestos Regulations under the Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 of 1993. These regulations aimed at regulating the exposure of workers to industries that may be exposed to asbestos during manufacturing of asbestos products and other procedures. In 2008, as South Africa, we joined 50 other countries in banning the use, processing and manufacture of products using asbestos, and the regulations prohibiting the use, manufacturing, import and export of asbestos and asbestos containing material were promulgated on 28 March 2008. These regulations are specifically prohibiting any person to acquire, process or repackage asbestos, manufacture asbestos containing material or distribute asbestos or asbestos containing material. As the country, we are no longer processing nor manufacturing products containing asbestos. Hence, we have promulgated the Asbestos Abatement Regulations. So the key word is abatement. So abatement means to do away with or moving away. So the key word when you say Asbestos Abatement Regulations is abatement. The Asbestos Abatement Regulations require every building owner and employer to identify asbestos in place, as we have old buildings that might have been using material containing such. This means that building material that contains asbestos, such as roof sheets, ceiling boards or installation material, should be identified and captured in a written inventory. It's not kept in a mind, it must be in a written inventory. These regulations prohibit any person to acquire, process or repackage asbestos, manufacture asbestos containing material or distribute asbestos or asbestos containing material. So you can see we are in line also with the 2008 regulations that were prohibiting such activities. This inventory should be used to inform the risk assessment in order to establish the potential risk of fiber release and exposure to people in such a vicinity. The risk assessment will then be used to develop a maintenance plan which must indicate how the asbestos in place will be handled. For instance, as the building owner, you will decide, will this asbestos remain in place or be maintained in the building? Will it be painted? Will it be encapsulated or will it be removed? If If the decision is to remove the asbestos-containing material, removal and final disposal must be performed by a contractor registered with the Department of Employment and Labor, and such contractors have to comply with the requirements stipulated in the Asbestos Abatement Regulations. So this is a new requirement for contractors, and we are very specific on those requirements. These regulations further stipulate prohibited activities, and these activities are selling, donating, reusing, reinstalling or recycling any asbestos or asbestos-containing material. Might be renovating your house, then you decide you're going to donate to your neighbor. That is not allowed. You do not donate, you do not sell. So that is a definite prohibition. Cleaning or preparing surfaces of asbestos cement material. Temporary storing as any asbestos or asbestos-containing material for longer than 3 months after completion of asbestos removal before final disposal. It means the contractor now must make proper arrangements to transport that waste as it is hazardous waste and not keep it for longer than 3 months. Temporary storing asbestos-containing material destined for disposal which are uncovered or unprotected or stored in a manner that may contaminate ground or water systems or may cause the release of asbestos fibers or asbestos dust. Using compressed air or permitting the use of compressed air to remove asbestos dust from any surface or person. So people are not allowed to blow themselves or to blow any surfaces. Using electrical power tools such as angle grinders or any other fast-moving equipment to cut, grind, or drill asbestos-containing material, as this may release the fibers. Smoking, eating, drinking or keeping food or beverages in a regulated asbestos area, or require or permit any other person to smoke, eat, drink, or keep food in such an area. That is a definite prohibition. Vacuuming asbestos dust using vacuum cleaning equipment and other vacuum cleaning equipment with a filtration efficiency of at least 99% for particulates 1 micrometer in size. Or carrying out any demolition work before all asbestos and asbestos-containing material has been identified in the inventory of asbestos in place. Safely removed or otherwise controlled as far as reasonable so as to eliminate the uncontrolled release of asbestos and asbestos dust. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that we prohibit any unsafe activities when it comes to asbestos. It should be noted that there is no national policy to remove all asbestos-containing materials from buildings by a set date. However, if asbestos in place is in a bad state, where asbestos fibers can be easily released and cause a health risk, it must be removed and disposed of safely. The Department of Employment and Labor will, over the next few months, release several more videos on technical aspects within the asbestos regulations. On our website at the Department of Employment and Labor, you will find the Asbestos Abatement Regulations, the explanatory notes on the Asbestos Abatement Regulations as we are explaining some concepts that are in the regulations, frequently asked questions relating to asbestos, the document is also there. The Socio-Economic Impact Assessment report on the regulations is also available for the public. The list of registered contractors is also available as we do not want you to use unregistered contractors. The list of approved inspection authorities is also available as these approved inspection authorities have to work with the registered contractors. Also, we have the criteria for applications so that if you want to apply to be the registered asbestos contractor, we can access that criteria and check if you qualify. Thank you, and please join us again for the videos that will follow on the detail in the Asbestos Abatement Regulations.